Yes, mergers work. People still lose their jobs when mergers work. Because, for example, if you have two banks that have they have their branches on the same street. When they merge, they have to close one branch for the other. That is one. And secondly, if we push too hard, if we raise it too hard, it's going to kill the competition too in the banking
Amongst the
sector.
banks.
In the banking sector, and we don't want to come to a place where we have just 2, 3 banks and it becomes like a monopoly. So we have to do it systematically. We still have to encourage competition in that sector while we are pushing for stronger liquid banks.
This is Souq business landscape. Now, CBN is telling us that 20 banks have met new capital requirement targets. Yes, the Central Bank of Nigeria that said about 20 deposit banks have already met the new capital requirements under the ongoing banking recapitalization program. As the Apex Bank shift focus towards ensuring stronger balance sheets, drive real sector credit growth in the economy. The disclosure was made on Thursday by the Deputy Governor, Economic Policy, Central Bank of Nigeria, Dr. Mohammed Abdullahi, while speaking on a panel at the launch of the 2026 Macroeconomic Outlook of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group in Lagos. Officials say the recapitalization exercise is intended to create a more resilient banking system, improve risk absorption, and position lenders to better support businesses, infrastructure and financing, and long-term economic expansion amid persistent inflation and external pressures. The central bank also says that compliance level indicates early momentum, but supervision will intensify to ensure capital buffers translate into lending, stability, and confidence across financial markets nationwide this year and ahead. Now, that particular threshold for that recapitalization was 500 billion. We're kind of asking ourselves, 500 billion, can 500 billion fund a refinery? Just personal talks. But it's a plus from where we are coming from.
Yes, it is. And they have until March this year to make that. This is for existing banks. New banks, it takes effect and all that. And since 20 banks have met it, it's a good one. I think CBN came out with this because over the years we faced a bit of currency pressure, inflation, shorter credit, to businesses and all that. So with this, banks have more money to withhold any external shocks, any pressure, anything, it stabilizes the bank. They can actually, because, back in the days, you just wake up and you hear this bank has folded and you'll be wondering and, and all that. But this is just a way of a buffer to make sure that at least they have something to fall back on. But now, let's see it translate in lending rates. Let's see it go down to single digits. Because whether you like it or not, businesses right now might not want to approach the conventional banks for loans. They would rather sort microfinance and any other, alternatives right now. So I think that is what CBN should also be looking at right now. Now they have money in the banks. 20 banks would have, but also some smaller banks who may not be able to meet up might be swallowed up in a merger and acquisition and all that. Well, it's all good if it's going to benefit businesses, especially SMEs. That should be the focus now. Now you said it can't even fund a refinery. We're not even talking. Let's not even go there. Let's talk about the SMEs right now because they are like the heartbeat of the economy. How many SMEs are actually thriving? Can actually expand. We talk about them going into stock. We talk about them doing so many things. We talk about job creation. If loans are not readily available for me to expand, I will not think of hiring. I will not think of this. I will think of downsizing. A lot of companies are trying to downsize. They're trying to see how one man can do 3 jobs, and pay him the same salary. That's where we are at. So I think CBN should, as much as possible, maybe the next MPR, MPC meeting, they should try to see how they can bring the lending rates down so that it will trickle down to SMEs.
Trickle down to SMEs, bring the lending rate down. That's where you are going to put. Let's still look at this capitalization. Should we be gunning for stronger banks? as we are right now, we are looking at a capitalization of 500 billion. I'm of the thought that we should go way, way beyond that. 500 billion it's less than $3 billion.
Yeah, I agree with you, but and especially if we are targeting a $1 trillion economy,
Exactly.
we need stronger banks to be able to fund the economy, and this is important. However, if CBN goes too high, a lot of jobs are going to be lost, like Mr. Shokoya just said, because if we look at the trajectory of recapitalization in the past, for example, when Access Bank and Diamond merged together, so many Diamond branches were closed, and there goes so many jobs. So we need to do it to be able to get to $1 trillion economy, but we need to do it carefully so that it doesn't hurt the economy. And our banks are doing quite well now. One of the projects that I'm proud, that make me, become more proud of Nigerian Bank is the Lagos Rail Line. When Mr. Sanwo-Olu said they were funded by local lenders, Nigerian banks, even at single digits. They make an exemption for him, even though the lending rate is about 30%. Mr. Sanwo-Olu said he got the facility for single digits, fully funded by Nigerian banks in Naira. So what that means is that if we have stronger banks, we'll reduce the pressure on borrowing in USD from foreign banks. So, but while we are doing that, like I said, we need to be careful not to push a lot of people out of their jobs.
Okay, pushing people out of their jobs. What about mergers?
Yeah.
You can see two big banks come together, and we have one of those names that we have outside this country.
Yes, mergers work. People still lose their jobs when mergers work. Because, for example, if you have two banks that have they have their branches on the same streets. When they merge, they have to close one branch for the other. That is one. And secondly, if we push too hard, if we raise it too hard, it's going to kill the competition too. Yes. In the banking sector. In the banking sector, and we don't want to come to a place where we have just 2-3 banks monopoly. And it becomes like a monopoly. So we have to do it systematically. We still have to encourage competition in that sector while we are pushing for stronger and more liquid banks. But I like the way the CBN is going about it. Even at this rate, about 30% of the bank have not been able to meet their recapitalization, although I'm positive that a lot of them are going to meet it, because this time around, a lot of people are encouraged to invest in Nigerian businesses. So I don't think they will have problem raising money from the stock exchange. So the only problem is this recapitalization might also affect existing shareholders in some of these banks, because it's going to dilute their shareholding.
Yeah, but most times once they introduce more shares, a portion is set aside for existing shareholders.
Yeah, but it's still going to reduce
the value,
their stake in the business.
Should we worry about the stake of the stock of the shareholders, or worry about the stake of the chief executive of the banks? That most times their stake is not reduced.
Yeah, exactly. So the shareholders are the people that bear the brunt. That's exactly what I'm saying. The owners or the directors of the bank, they cover their own basis. Mm-hmm. So the people that bear the brunt are you and I, because they reduce our stake in the bank. So if you have 0.000%, by the time they do the recapitalization, they want to earn more money. Technically, your stake reduces by half sometimes.
Okay. Now, let's look at the first place the banks went to after the mention of recapitalization was the stock market. A lot of them had to now bring in new shares, and they sold new shares, and 99.9% of them were all positive. They were all successful. I think we'll still get to a story of one that is presently in the stock market right now. Okay. Let's start asking ourselves. We had an issue where CBN said over 90% of cash in circulation is still outside the banking sector. At this point in time, both CBN, commercial banks, deposit banks, microfinance bank, all the bankable banks, what do you think they should be doing aside just sitting down and waiting for the big boys to bring money? What do you think they should be doing to go out there and get people to join the banking system, apart from what the fintechs are doing?
Well, it's a long shot from here because the fintechs, they have gone way far. Way far. And that's what created the competition. Look at how long it took banks, to start offering loans on their app, short-term loans. First we had the loan sharks. They came in, the fintechs came in, and they were offering you 10,000 naira for 7 days, 12 days, or a month and thereabout, before the banks came on board. So the fintechs, the mobile money banks, and all, they have gotten into the nooks and crannies of these people. And these people themselves, how many people would you say bring the money into the bank and, come and say, people prefer to, let me not say we know how we, but people prefer to bury money in tanks and whatnot. And the money is not in circulation, like it's not everywhere, it's just to a selected few. So what incentives are you willing to offer these people that will make them say, okay, I trust this particular bank. If I put my money in this bank, I would see something, rather than see deductions from nowhere. Imagine being deducted for card maintenance when you don't even have an ATM card. These are some of the things we experience. So these are things that discourages people. And bad information spreads faster than good information. Look at the one we talked about yesterday.
Okay.
The VAT. The information that was out there was that, they are going to be deducting from your money. Before they had to, release another circular that, no, it's 7.5% of the charges, not the total money. But the news had already gone farther. But if you go on social media now, a couple of influencers are now trying to do damage control. They were the ones who started these things, but they are now trying to do damage control, of course, to move traffic and all that. So these are some of the things. So what incentives can banks offer? This is where stock comes in. This is how banks can really persuade some of them that, look, if you have this amount, bring it to our bank. We'll help you invest it in the stock market. This is what you stand to gain. These are some of the things. Because Nigerians
should the bank start offering their customers stocks in return for depositing their monies? Or should the bank start offering their customers, you're smiling, or should the bank start offering their customers some form of insurance for depositing their monies with them?
Exactly.
At a point in time, a particular telecommunication network was offering insurance. If you recharge your data or your talk time over an amount, they will offer you a month premium insurance service. But most people did not know until they stopped that service. So do you think banks should look for a way of cajoling people to, hey, come in, bring those monies this way. We'll offer you this.
We need more banks that will target, especially people in the rural areas. So it's just going to be their own corporate strategy overall. Say, for example, before GTB, students barely have bank accounts. Most universities, they have their own microfinance bank where students, I know federal universities and private universities, they have their own small microfinance bank within the school that students use when they're on campus. They take money, they deposit it, and they're able to use it within the school. But GTB make it their mission to target campuses. And today, they still pursue the market. That is why we have GT food and drink, GT fashion. They still target those young people, and it works for them. So it just takes, and when people like OPay, MoneyPoint, even though they are microfinance bank and digital banking, when they came, they target the SMEs. and their strategy works. They look at their problem and they tailor their services to solve their problem. So I personally believe that most of the unbanked money are in the rural areas. Personally, that is my own belief. A lot of people believe they are in houses of politicians. I don't think politicians keep cash in naira in their houses. If politicians keep cash in their houses, I believe that it's USD. I believe that the value of USD that we have today at 1,400 is as a result of so much USD demand by the elites. That is what I personally believe. So I believe there is a lot of money in the rural areas. All the food that we consume in urban areas like Lagos, more than 50% of that transaction is kept in cash in the hands of the heads and the Fulani herders that sell cow. Most of their transaction, about 70% of them, is in cash. And if you ask travel people that process Hajj for the Fulani people, they'll tell you, they come to their offices, Ghana must go, to pay for Hajj, 8 million, 12 million, 13 million. They'll tell you, oh yeah, count your 13 million and give me my balance to go home. When you go to places like Kaduna where they sell grains, everything is in cash. I personally do not think that these cash are in houses of politicians. I think they are in houses of people in the rural areas who don't understand the banking sector. So I feel the banks needs to be deliberate to come to their level to deal with them. In advanced countries, banks, when you go to bank, they can attend to you in about 10 different languages. If you are Chinese, there are Chinese professionals that will deal with you to get your money. If you are India, if you are Spanish, etc. And in Chinese neighborhoods, you see American banks write all their signage in full Chinese, even in America, to be able to make it familiar for Chinese people to deposit money with them. So bank needs to come to the level of these rural business people. Even in the Nigerian economy, I think we often write them out. We don't really consider them in our policies, but these people are moving a lot of numbers, and if we want the money in the banking sector, we have to come to their level to deal with them.
Talking about that, if you remember, it took a while before people started accepting ATMs. A lot of people were discouraged from you going to register, and they will tell you, wait till you get a message, then you wait for about 2 weeks to a month, then you go to the bank, they'll ask you, did you send your message? Then you tell them, okay, yes. Then they'll tell you, sit down, you wait for hours. Then GT came up with this brilliant idea, self-service ATM, whereby the ATM machine prints your ATM for you in minutes. I don't know whether other banks have that facility. Then GT also, I'm not doing any promo, I'm just talking about innovation.
No, don't worry, we'll send you the bill later. Just go ahead.
Then they came up with this ATM machine where you can deposit money. I don't know whether other banks have that facility. It's only GT that have actually used that particular facility. These are some of the things. Now imagine if you could use that facility and it has, of course, all ATMs have different languages. Now imagine if all that kind of facility is in all ATMs. People will not be going to, most people prefer to go to the POS operator if they want to send money. These are some of the incentives that banks can actually, bring closer to the people.